Hey, welcome back to the Soul Pod. This is Stacy. The great Albert Einstein once said that information is more important than knowledge. Think about that. The great scientist says information is more important than knowledge. Consider this for a moment. See, knowledge, science, that's knowledge. Information, the stuff coming in, right? The stuff that we're looking at, the stuff we're considering, is more important than the stuff that's set in stone, essentially. Scientific, boom, proven, as we call it, or the scientific method, or the materialist model. Information is more important than. Why is this important? This is important because we all have some information that comes into us that we question and perhaps even reject because it's not scientifically proven. If you feel like maybe you've lost your sense of wonder, maybe you've got all the facts, you've seen all the science, you know all the stuff, maybe you're incredibly intelligent even, and you know it, but you still feel a little empty, like something is missing. This is for you because information and wonder matters. And there's some people out there trying to make sure we don't forget that. You see, we've got all the answers to all the great mysteries, we think. You see, many, many, many years ago, thousands of years ago, uh, gods were named for the things we couldn't understand. Zeus, Apollo, like what the god of lightning, the god of sea, the god of this, the god of that, the god of hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanoes. There are gods named for everything we couldn't understand. And as time went on, the gods started going away and got narrowed down because as science came along, it explained some of these things to us. There is no god of thunder. There's just thunder. There is no god of volcanoes. There's just volcanoes. Poseidon isn't necessary anymore because we understand weather and the sea and the tides and all these things, right? So the gods were whittled down as science came in and explained stuff to us. Science fills the gaps, which is great. And look how far science has gotten us. But somehow we still feel empty. We have all the answers, but we still feel empty. Science is good. Science is important, but science kills the questions. It kills the wonder. The wonder. And that's what we're missing. The wonder. It's the stuff great philosophers have been talking about and writing about for millennia. Why are we here? Is love real? What happens after we die? The big questions that, by the way, we're still asking thousands of years later. There's writings before the birth of Christ where men were talking about these things, questions that have been floating around forever that we still don't have the answer for. But science, for the most part, ignores these things and consider them a bit woo-woo and a bit hippy-dippy and a bit out there, and it's like not worth looking at because we can't prove it or disprove it, so we're not going to put any energy into it. In fact, we're going to shun it, essentially. Today we're going to dive into a bit of that and hopefully open you up a little bit more, give you permission to feel the wonder. So I'm not suggesting we ditch science. No, far from it. Science is vital. Science is important. Science is the reason you can watch this right now. Everything that is on your iPhone, your laptop, your whatever, anything technological is the cumulative end result of tons and tons of beautiful scientific pieces coming together to allow us to do amazing things, right? So I'm not suggesting we should get rid of science. What I'm suggesting is that we should look at science, which is proven, and all the stuff that's not proven, that space where the two of them come together, and examine that rather than simply throwing it out like the baby with the bathwater. Talking about looking at something that oftentimes, when it's examined too closely by prominent people in scientific positions, can get them shunned or ruin their careers. In 2014, a group of very prominent scientists got together and they started talking about this issue. That in science, you're not really allowed to look in these spaces. You're certainly discouraged from looking there. And they said, why don't we ask the question, is it possible that mind is bigger than matter? Is there something more going on inside of us that we're shunned from talking about that may answer some of the great questions in the universe? Some of these great questions that have been being asked for millennia. And they sat down and they wrote this paper called the Manifesto for Post-Materialist Science. Now, at first there were just a handful of these scientists, again, quite prominent. Now there's more than 600 scientists. Every year more and more sign on to this. It is a declaration and a request that science lightens up a bit and starts looking in those gray areas at those things that we don't fully understand but are nonetheless very interesting. Things like ESP, things like telepathy, things like imagine anything, a near-death experience, the things that we can't explain, but yet are nonetheless quite intriguing and undeniable. I'll share a link to the Manifesto for Post-Materialist Science. You can check it out. I think it's 6 pages. It's pretty simple. It's well stated, really intelligent, and it asks important questions. And it tries to encourage the right group of people to look at these things. Actually, before I jump too far forward with that, let me just say, these aren't just some junior high school science teachers. We're talking about heavy hitters. There's a Nobel laureate, even a Nobel winner that's on the list, as well as other people who are way high up in their fields, very prominent colleges. So really big hitters. So again, check out the link. But today, just here, you and me, I want you to consider something for yourself. Consider for yourself, what's one thing that intrigues you, in that gray area, but maybe you wouldn't talk to your friends about because you perhaps believe that maybe you might be judged. There might be some stigma attached to it. People might think you're wacky. Perhaps it's even something you've personally experienced. One of those things that happens that you feel and you know to be true. You don't need science to tell you it's true. You know it's true. Folks who've had a near-death experience are like this. Folks who witnessed that. People who've witnessed the moment that someone dies, something magical happens. Perhaps they see someone who's come to get them and talk to people in the corner of the room, and there's this moment that happens when people are dying where they wake up and they're completely clear-headed, even though everything signs-wise they shouldn't be able to do that because of the condition that they're in. Things like this. So things that you know. Consider something that you know inside of you to be true, or you just find amazingly intriguing, but you've sort of backburnered it. You wouldn't talk about it openly with friends or coworkers or whoever because you might feel like they'd judge you. Consider that one thing. Consider that right here. Maybe write it down. Let it breathe. Let it be outside of you for a moment. Give yourself permission to consider it further, just right there in front of you. Just because it's not provable doesn't mean that it's not worth exploring. All the great mysteries in life, that's where the wonder is. Just like it was when you were a little child. Wonder. Wonder is that thing that excites us, that we feel in that particular place in our chest. It feels magical, that makes life magical. Have you lost that magical feeling? Do you want it back? Maybe it's faded a bit and you'd like to open it up again. You see, wonder is like a window. It's always there. Sometimes we just have to stop and polish it to let the light get back in. And then we realize the light was always there. Let yourself wonder. Let yourself explore. Let your inner child, that curious part of you, come out again. Remember what Einstein said about imagination. It's more important than knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Use your imagination. Get out there. Embrace life. Enjoy. Embrace the wonder. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching my channel. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, you would like to see more of these, do that for me, please. It's good for the channel. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for people like yourself who like this and want to see more of these. We'll get more people here. It'll encourage me to make more videos. If you haven't checked out the Soul Podcast yet, check it out. I think you'll like it.